The country is still reacting to the decision by the Supreme Court to overturn Roe v. Wade, ending abortion rights for thousands of women.
Now, of course, we've been reporting on the decision itself, but we also want to dive a little bit deeper this morning into the various opinions issued in the case. That's why we have 9 News legal analyst Whitney Traylor with us now. And Whitney, thank you so much, because this is really complex when we're diving into these other facets about this decision. Specifically, what we're talking about is the concurring opinion that was issued by Clarence Thomas. When we're talking about that, can you just spell out for us what he even said in that opinion?
Yeah, so there were a number of concurring and dissenting opinions. And so, you know, when a decision is rendered, there's the majority opinion, which was written by Justice Alito, and then Justice Thomas wrote a concurring opinion and saying, I agree with the decision, but I might agree with it for different reasons. And so what he said was that he believed these other rights were at stake. And specifically, he said, dealing for that reason in future cases, we should reconsider all of the precedent because it is erroneous. And he's dealing with gay marriage, homosexual sex, and contraception access for married couples. So he alluded to the fact that those issues would also be on the table in the future.
Right, and I thought what was interesting about him issuing this opinion is kind of before it was only talked about that this could happen. He specifically named the cases in his opinion, saying we do need to go back and revisit these. When it comes to that, for people who might say, oh my gosh, or is it my rights that are in question, or for anybody else that just kind of knows somebody who might be affected by that, what exactly are we talking about, particularly just because Justice Thomas did mention these 3 specific cases?
Right. It's a great question. So what happens is the trial court, there was the issue about the Mississippi law that was a 15-week ban. And that's what Chief Justice Roberts wanted to deal with. He said, we should just deal with this case specifically. But of course, Justice Alito went beyond that and said, we're going to overturn Roe completely. And so that was what the decision was, and it wasn't limited to just the Mississippi case. It was broadened out to all of these abortion rights. And the liberals, the 3 justices on the liberal side said, we're concerned because these other rights are on the table. Now, Justice Alito, who wrote the opinion, said, no, these other issues aren't on the table. We're just dealing with abortion. But Justice Thomas's reference to those other cases is what's concerning a lot of folks.
Easily bringing that up, and it's so many different layers to it. You have these 2 different sides, and you have people that are presenting new topics, especially when abortion was the initial one that was on the table. But the Supreme Court ruled on a significant number of issues over the past couple of weeks. Would you just be able to give us like a quick and simple overview of some of those other significant rulings that we've seen?
Right. It's interesting because this case, as it should, they overruled a 50-year precedent. It got a lot of attention, but there were a number of other cases. So there was an issue dealing with the Second Amendment, which in New York, there was sort of discretion when they issued a concealed carry permit. The court said, no, you can't have discretion. It has to be objective. So there's a certain criteria. If they pass it, age, background, that kind of thing, they can get a gun. So that's going to expand
federally.
Yep. Exactly.
That was at the federal level, which is why Roe v. Wade was so interesting the next day, because then they said the exact opposite, saying we're going to leave that to the state.
To the states.
Exactly.
That's exactly right. That's a great point. And so there was also the EPA case where they said the Clean Air Act doesn't give the EPA certain rights. So a lot of environmentalists are highly concerned about that. And then there was the religious rights case in which the coach was praying on the 50-yard line, and they said, yes, he can do that. That was a private prayer, if you will, even though it was on the 50-yard line with a bunch of his players and the media and everything. So the court has really made some significant rulings as it relates to abortion, these religious rights, and these gun rights. So, and this is evidence of this conservative court, the 6-3 conservative court, and they have ruled in the way that people thought they would.
And it's going to be so interesting to see how a lot of this continues to play out, because we're already seeing the reaction from it in so many different states, because there are different rulings when it comes to all of these states.
Yeah. Whitney, thank you so much for being with us and helping us break this down. We know we're far from over. We're just touching the tip of the iceberg right now. There's a lot underneath. we'll definitely be talking to you more about this in the future.
I'll be happy to come back.
Thank you so much, my friend. Let's get a check of your